What is up? It is Tiana today, and we are honing in on the VMAs 2025 performances that gave us all the life. And I can't wait to share with you the creative direction elements that was used. If you watch as a fan, if you watch as a fellow performer, and you want to know a little bit more behind the scenes, I'm going to share with you what I have learned across all of my years in this industry that might help you understand how things were moving, where they were coming from, maybe how much they cost. I'm not quite sure, but I'll do my best. So let's dive right on into Doja Cat. This woman was the best way to start the show. I don't know about you guys, but it was definitely MTV all the way. Her creative director is Brett Allen Nelson, and he did a fantastic job. This was an 80s set, right? We are locked into the 80s set. We have a controlled color palette, is very theatrical. This is theatricals to the finest. And what I love about this performance is that you cannot tell where the set ends and where the screens begin. That is when I'm talking about synergy with scenic working together, the screens working together. And when you have that magic, it just makes the stage look that much more full, more thought through, and she really did her thing. So when it comes to scenic, we've got a checkered floor, which I would assume might be custom. She had angular wall flats with memorable shapes and mixed texture. If you look at the scenic, when you look at Doja Cat set, there's a sparkly circle camera right, and there's these diagonal sparkle panels on camera left. Those are called silver shimmer wall panels. You hear me? Silver shimmer wall panels. That's right. And then we have Kenny G intros the song upstage corner, the right corner. And there's a really cool spiral staircase that is just floating into the air. It's lodged into the base of the stage, and in front of it is a 3-folded mirror. Doja Cat is lowered on an 80s-inspired curved chaise lounge. This could be custom or rental. Regardless, it looks like it's wrapped so that it fits the theme of the set, right? We're working with a really strong color palette, and when you do that, all the bits and pieces have to work together. It doesn't look like they used a chain motor for her to lower. It looked like a winch motor, so it's a seamless land. And then there's low fog pumping in from left and right of the stage. And then the director strategically cuts away to the audience while Doja Cat releases her safety belt. You know, someone at home might not know that there's a reason, but there's a reason for everything. Because then when we cut back to the stage, you see that she's out of the chaise lounge, and I saw the seatbelt. I don't know if it's a seatbelt, safety belt. Okay, so the wall is sheer and frosted. And so when she's standing there, what's so great is that the lighting, they have lights flashing behind it. So you're still getting that energy, right? So it's not just like this flat looking scene. You still have energy pulsing behind these sheer panels, which match the theme of the set. The chaise lounge rises and Doja Cat goes in front of the mirror. This has to be methodically thought through between the artist, the choreographer, and the director. Why? Because you don't want to get the director, or you don't want to get the camera up in any of those back shots. And so the way that she places herself in front of it has to make sense on the other end. And then another thing, when you guys are going to create with mirror, my ick, they say, is when you get fingerprints on it. So you have to make sure that the scenic department is constantly wiping that thing down so that when it comes to showtime, we're looking at a very clean mirror. I love seeing you guys here joining me live. Thank you so much. I'm tuning into YouTube at the same time. The mirror pulls away. The dancers are revealed. The styling is full out. These individual looks, we are not uniformed, but the color palette is controlled. Yes, I love when things like that happen. Dancers come in for a dance break, honey. The strobe lights hit, the camera angle changes, and she is serving all kinds of realness. And so after that, she goes to, let's see, Doja Cat travels down the runway to meet two musicians who are also 80s out. The hair, the mall bangs. I mean, holy moly. The styling is just through the roof. And what I really love about Doja and her work with Brett is that he has a styling background. So all those details are thought through. And every person that's on stage, not just her, they look like they went through like a major, makeover to transport themselves back into this world of MTV that we know and love. Like, we grew up on this. And for the show to start with Doja Cat in this way, I just thought that the network, the showrunner, everybody who's working at that top tier really put some thought into this. And I didn't know what to expect because it's on CBS. So it's like, how far do you push it? But thank you, CBS, for letting us live our old school MTV life out, because I think it also just reminded us why we yearn for these performances. You know, there's so much to explore, even though it's a repetitive thing. We know we've done this, we've seen this, but it's still done to perfection. And that's what I love about it. Let's see, the runway, when Doja Cat makes her way down to meet the musicians, she has a little, we call it a diva fan, honey. At the edge of a stage, fans will be placed so that you can, even her hair's short, it doesn't matter. We still get a little kick of some fan to give her that diva moment. And the runway, it's laid with an LED floor. So that checkered floor that's upstage, that is also at the edge of the runway as well. So I really like that things are connecting and we don't have a disconnect, technically. Then what really stood out to me is that they had fuchsia and silver confetti blowers ignite at the very end of the performance. Now, I have never in my years, and somebody here can tell me, Tiana, you're wrong. I have never seen a show start with a performance with confetti. Why? Because that cleanup is a nightmare. Most people save those moments for the end of the show. And I don't know, like, you have to think about, okay, how much time do we have from this performance to the next? Where are they standing? You have blowers, you have sweepers, you have all these things. And then make sure you don't see that confetti in the next performance. Regardless, I loved it. It was blowers coming out from the edges of the mosh pit of people that were in. I just thought it was fantastic. And I love that Keenan, the king of special effects, has joined us on this chat, and I am sure he loved it too. So that's my Doja Cat recap. Loved it. Can't wait to see what her next performance is. Then I'm going to talk about the show's overarching theme, from not just the theme of the show, but then we've actually peeled some of this into the commercials. And the commercials leaned in to MTV, like Burger King. Something's going on with that creative director. They are tapped in so deep that I love everything that they're putting out. Even though I don't know if you've guys seen Wednesday, the TV show on Netflix. Did you see that experience that they created where I think it only lasted a day, but they created a whole in-person experience. You drive through and you feel like you're on the set of Wednesday. Well, they carried that powerful, like, we know what we're doing theme over into the commercials. And if anyone here who watches Love Island, Ace even made an appearance. I was like, okay, sir, you better do it. Then we get into Doritos. Doritos had a whole 80s MTV vibe too, with the computers and the spaceship. And then Bose was a perfect match for the show. Sonically, didn't necessarily lean into the 80s theme, but it makes sense. It's music. We got to listen to on a good feed. Bose made an appearance. And then Lindsay Lohan came through. I was like, oh, we are just like, I felt like the show was, I keep hitting this mic. The show was made for me, because who doesn't love a little bit of a Lindsay Lohan feature? She was cute. You know, I'm a mom. She's a mom. And it just felt like a really thoughtful commercial, and it didn't feel too pushy. Leaning after that, then we come back from the show, and I'm reading my notes, by the way. It says the stage is sleek and cool. The content is futuristic. Does anyone disagree? All right, let's get into Sabrina Carpenter Tears. Sabrina Carpenter and Doja Cat, they have the same creative director, and I just thought it was really interesting that she's got Jealous and she's got Tears, and there's an E and the A and the I don't know. It's just me looking for things. Anyway, so let's talk about this one. The director pans across the talent to reveal a custom manhole cover with Sabrina's name on it. I don't know if you guys have heard of a manhole, but I had to Google it. I was like, what is that thing that the the Ninja Turtles come out of? It's called a manhole cover. So that's a custom design. Not sure how much it costs. We're not here to talk about money. Just know that somebody had to make that specially for her. When it opens, we see Sabrina. There's a pumping up of green light and low fog billowing through. Her microphone is strategically placed next to it so that when she starts that first lyric, she's already ready to go. And then as she sings, she's rising up on a lift from underneath the stage. I've never been to this venue. I heard it was in Long Island, so I don't know. It seemed very functional. And I loved it because sometimes when you're put in a place that really is just like it's set, you have a lot of limitations. So I liked that there was so many moving parts within the stage. And again, whoever created this stage really thought all these details out. And even if Sabrina said we need to add this to the set, I'm glad they did. When it opens, she sings, she's rising up. The scenic, let's talk about the scenic. We've got a backdoor stoop. We've got a loading dock kind of platform with the fascia, with the yellow and the black stripes. We're totally in New York City, right? There's some smaller scenic pieces that are set around the stage. The screen content it looks like a dark alley with fogged street lights, scaled to a forced perspective. So what I love about the screen content is that it has depth. It shows so much depth. And so what that means is that it's really kind of small in the center and then it pulls out. And then that means the viewer or even people in the studio or at the arena watching, it just feels like a massive look. And any way that you can kind of trick the eye, especially with screen content, you are winning. The lighting, it seems like it's edging the screen's edge a little bit to kind of look like a proscenium. And it's just a wide wash that makes even the screen content look a little bit hazier. I'm into it. Doesn't need to be too much because there's a lot going on stage. The styling, once again, is individual. However, the color palette is a little bit more free on this. And rightfully so. Like everyone here we feel like we are literally walking down the streets of New York, and they did that perfectly. The drag queens come with and dance with her. It's Simone, Denali Fox, and my friend Willem. You guys, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Anytime I saw anybody on the stage that I knew, which I knew a lot of people, I was like, yes, I see you. I was so excited because I just think, it's the VMAs. It's like the Mecca. You want to be up there. You want to root for your friends. And so a lot of my friends were on the stage and I was really excited to see that. Sabrina Carpenter then vogues with 3 superstars. Honey, the cast for this, they said we want the finest, the best, and they did it. And I was so happy. Jante was in there. I could name everybody, but everyone was serving. Sabrina then travels stage right to another stoop, some stairs, a bare scaffolding, and more smaller scenic pieces, more fierce drag queens, dancers. They're doing the thing. And the performance moves around pretty swiftly. She adds her wit, her charm. That's who she's in. Jay, hello. Yes, you're here. The performance, yes, it moves around. Then she makes her way to the telephone booth. Okay, now she's singing to a GoPro. So the director has placed a GoPro in a position so that when she's there, she's singing to it. But what I noticed is that she's also revealing something from her clothing. She's giving us a full Clark Kent moment. But what I also noticed is that next to the actual phone booth is 2 Astera tube lights. So those lights are pulsing we're still connected to the stage even though we're in this lighting booth, and it gives her nice lighting and it's all neon and it's serving her the greatness. Because the GoPro it's not like the finest lens, right? You felt like, oh, this lens looks a little different. I love a GoPro moment, but you still need to assist with some lighting. So then she goes across the stage and she is ready to hit that dance break. Okay, I was wondering, what is this platform? Like, what are we doing? At the very beginning of the show, I was like, what is this platform? Why is it there? What's its purpose? And now we know the purpose. The purpose was for this rain moment. So the rain is released from above. I'm sure there's some poles up there that are just releasing this water. And what happens is she's dancing on this platform, and then on the edges of it is probably the water is filling into that trench. I don't know how to say it, but basically it's a catch-all so that it protects that water from the main stage. Because what you don't want to walk away is, you've damage the stage. That we cannot do. And I will say, I know that we're not here yet, but what is so fascinating with the show is that they took a risk on rain. They took a risk on sand. This show just felt it just was like, we're going to do it and we're going to go all the way out. So I'm here for it. I hope you were here for it too. She's dancing in the rain and then standing on the edges. Yes. Okay. She leads the cast to a final tableau at the end of the runway. And we see her, she glides, honey. She glides into that little position. She turns around, looks over her shoulder, and then you see a tableau of everybody in New York City and her wet hair. And then what I love is that the director, actually, you could see the audience clapping in front. So it just felt like so much energy, and that's what you want to do. when you're creating performances like this, you think about, okay, we're in the room, we're doing our thing. But what really matters is what we see at home. So if you are getting us out of our seat, if you are able to connect with the director, connect with the choreographer, make sure that the talent is doing what they need to do. And I, Tiana, and all of you who watch the show at home can feel that. That's a win-win. So when you're in the venue, don't look at it with your bare eye. That's good for rehearsal. When you're in the studio, look at the monitor only. That is just the best piece of advice I could pass on for anyone ready to step up as the creative director. So let's move on to Ricky Martin because, honey, that medley was everything. Jamie King is the creative director, and we should always bow down to the king because he is the one that started and launched a lot of this lifestyle for all of us. I was one of the dancers for he was a creative director for the strip tour, the Back to Basics tour, I don't think I did a tour without him as the creative director. God has blessed me. So I get to now watch and enjoy all of his creativeness. And here we go. Ricky Martin, let's go. The screens feature a close-up of Ricky in the rain, and then we jump into a montage of all of his great moments. The dancers are on the bottom. They're down at the runway performing over that LED floor, and the graphic lines that you see on the ground match the ones in the screens. I love the connection. Thank you kindly. Ricky is now lowered from the ceiling in an exposed white and metal frame, and his safety is a Barbie stand. So anytime that you have somebody coming from the rig, from the above, you have to make sure that there's a safety something. And what they did really good is that his is a Barbie stand. So think about when you buy a Barbie, they put it on a stand. It's the same concept. And what they did was they painted that pole black so that it matched his pants. So you barely even saw that was something. And he owned it. He had a firm stance. I'm sure it was wrapped around his waist and he was doing his thing. The styling for this is really unified. The guys are in a specific look. The girls are in theirs. The color palette is black, gold, and white, and I'm here for it. The screens are very much more graphic this time. So the first two performances with Doja Cat and Sabrina, it was theatrical and it had a lot of scene. This is graphic driven, and I'll explain in a little bit why it's graphic driven, and we'll go, I didn't even realize that. Or maybe you did, but we're going to talk about it. So the screens they're black and white, they're flashing, they're tunneling, it's high energy. Then there's a dance break. Honey, we hit them with a dance break at the very top, and it's upstage. So Ricky and the dancers have traveled upstage, and it's basically another reset moment because he gets close up to the camera, and then we toss, and we look at the audience, and these very well-placed moments of audience is a reset. And what's happening during the reset? We come back and we see a drummer. We've got a band. The LED screen that had those big white and black graphic lines, that is now up in the air, and we see a band setup and a glory of wall of lights that I'd never seen these lights before. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so amazing because lighting just like drives so much energy. Even if you don't know a song, like lighting can do so much. So thank God for Instagram. Thank God for social media. I did a little research, found out who did it. My friend Joshua Hutchings, from Illumination Advocates. I'm reading my notes. Guess what? I worked with him on X Factor years ago. And I was able to ask him, I was like, I loved what you did. This is incredible. What lights did you use? And he told me they were Acme Tornadoes. And if you guys are interested in lighting, this is the type of stuff that I talk about in Creative Director Pro Academy. You want to know the term, you want to know its functionality, this is how you study. These performances are blueprints for you to understand how to move when it's your time. So anyway, the lights are they are completely behind the band and then also in front. So when a band, the band riser, the drum riser is probably 8x8 and then the percussion's 8x8, but you still got to raise it up. So when you put we call it a fascia. So the lights are the fascia for this performance that keeps that energy going from every direction. And it's fantastic. So what happens now is that the screen content, this is why it's graphic, it now complements the new setup. The lights are all pulsing and doing their thing at the bottom of the stage. But then there's a lot of negative space in the screen content. And now we're working with only the upper half of the screen. So that's when you really play with that graphicness. When you play with graphics, you can put them anywhere and it doesn't matter. You don't have to always use the full screen. And the way Jamie King and the team did it is just, it was really thought through, because now I can just like focus on Ricky and the band and what they're doing. And so the color palette is now pink and blue. Medleys. When there's a medley, you really like to change up. Each section has its own identity. And in this case, we're changing up the identity with the color palette. The dancers return with instruments to shake your bonbon. And now we're in red. I'm here for it. Are you here for it? Okay, I don't want to murder this, but Vente Peca. Did I do okay? For anybody who speaks Spanish, that's the next song. Now we're in a gold world. And what is so special about this gold world is now the director has added a slight star filter onto the camera to make it have a soft glow. So if for any moment that you thought, wow, I really like these gold lights, I really like the feeling that I have, it's because the piercingness of that filter has now taken that light and given you a little bit more of a beam coming out of it. If you watch sports, right? If you watch a basketball game, all the lights that are at the top, they have these really, really big beams. Go off on this. Good. Thank you. They have these really big beams that stem from a light in the sky. That's because the star filter has been put on. So you can decide if do you want a small star filter or do you want a big star filter? And that's an effect that you communicate with your director. Maria starts, and my note was, oh, I love seeing the dancers. Again, the dancers made me so happy. Tori, Anthony, Capono, Erica, I was so excited. The lights are now tilting. So the lights, those tornadoes, they are on a horizontal playing field, right? So now I guess they have the ability to change and get off on a little bit of a diagonal. So they all have individual things, and then they can change their angles, and they played with that for this song. I then also noticed that the screen content, which was before very linear, is now they have peaks. So everything's working together. The lights, the screens, we still have that negative space. It's fantastic. Then again, I'm reading my notes. The Cup of Life, we've now added the color cyan to the mix. The lights are restored, and surprise, Ricky is now being lifted on a massive scissor lift at the very end of the performance. I just love, like, for me, it's like production at its finest. He came down from the ceiling. He moved. He did not miss a step on any ounce of that stage. And now he's being hoisted up because he is getting recognized for his incredible artistry. And I think that they did that really well. Again, where did that lift come from? I love that the stage gives you so much functionality, and that's not necessarily going to happen everywhere you go. When you work on a festival show, there's a lot of limitations. So when you get the chance to work on an award show or you get the chance to work on a tour, there's a lot of bells and whistles that you can play with. And I feel as though the performances that I talked about today really utilized all of the elements. And if it resonated with you, if you felt like, why I like it, you probably didn't realize why you liked it. And maybe today after the discussion, you go, oh, I get it. So we have a little bit more time. I have a couple bonus notes of other performances that I wanted to feature. Busta Rhymes, he did an incredible set too, but there was a moment, I don't know if you guys caught with the director, they did a fisheye lens. And I love when you can just change up how you see things. And the fisheye was very complimentary to how he shot his music video, and they brought that back. So just know that as a creative director, you can ask for these things. This is an incredible, you have a vision, you're like, oh, can we do this? You just have to ask in time. And then there's a gerb waterfall. A gerb waterfall is all the way at the back and the back of the stage at the very, very end, lots of CO2. And then Alex Warren, what I loved about, he had I'd never seen this man a day in my life, but what I liked about his performance, he had like a falling laser cone, and to make a laser work on stage is not easy because there's a lot of elements that you might not have enough haze. You might not have a strong enough laser beam. You might have too much screen content happening. So then you have a bunch of like busyness happening. So what I think you can learn from the Alex Warren laser cone is that that's what it's supposed to look like when it's done right. So all that being said, I am so happy that you guys tuned in for this, and I'm putting this repeat on YouTube as well. That's why I'm filming two different things. But what I have for you is a special effects cheat sheet. As a creative director, I've done so many shows where I have to start over, and I'm thinking to myself, what was that pyro called? What I've created for you is a cheat sheet. So if you comment cheat sheet right here now in Instagram Live, comment cheat sheet, and you will get this special effects cheat sheet. You can also do that on the comments in YouTube. But if you comment cheat sheet, you will get the special effects laundry list of terms that you then don't have to think about again. Because when you are up for the job, because that's the whole point, I want to prepare you so well that when you are called to be the creative director or you're called to be a part of somebody's team, I want you to say yes with confidence. And how can I get you there? You're going to say, I have a wealth of knowledge beforehand because Tiana today has helped me and I believe in you. I believe that our industry deserves to be in that position because has so much experience on and off stage. Yes, Lindsay, get your cheat sheet. And if it doesn't come to you, you let me know. But yes, the cheat sheet is definitely a very helpful tool. So when you have that next gig, you don't have to research all over again, all the great things. Yes, Ahmad, get that cheat sheet. This is going to help you no matter where you go. These terms are used on film. They're used in commercials. They're used overseas. I was working in Australia and the same terms of special effects was used there. There's a vocabulary of special effects that I want you to have so that you don't have to shuffle. And when that call comes, you can just say, boom, yes, I'm in it. Let's do it. I love having these conversations with you guys. I can't wait for the next grand performance that we can talk about. These things are very valuable. When you're watching these shows, it's not just for you being a fan. It's a way for you to study. It's a way for you to learn what the elements are used. So when it's your turn, you know what you're dealing with. Because if we can talk about this, but having an example in front of you is so helpful. And the VMAs and the Grammys and the festivals and the music videos, all of these things, they're your class. They're your absolute class. If I can help you understand it to any degree, then I will sign up every single day. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. I'm signing out of Instagram Live with you and Greenlight Your Own Life on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. Ciao, ciao.